Hello, class. Week 9. Here we are, moving towards now human evolution, which we need to start with primate evolution. So we're going to do that. Again, I've attached a few videos for the week and some charts in terms of taxonomy and also evolution charts of primates. The videos will also be helpful. I'm going to go through just this lecture is pretty much going to occupy kind of the big, large theoretical hints for the week. Again, I think there's probably some terms on the guided lesson that you're going to want to research in terms of specific species, just so you have an idea of actually how many species we have, and then in fossil record, and then that kind of evolutionary chart will help kind of touch in the details. This is one of those areas that is not very talked about in the general media or public or even kind of in science magazines or journals. Many times people come into this class really not understanding how much data we have around primates and the different versions that have occurred on the earth all over the planet, really. So I think that this week and probably the next couple are going to be weeks where a lot of people have not been exposed to information. And what I mean by that is last week we pretty much looked at geological time, and I think a lot of that gets covered in early like biology classes or even chemistry to some degree, but a lot is missed. Right? We usually kind of talk about the dinosaurs, and then we skip through time, and then we really skip over this mammal time period that really takes over from kind of that 65 million years ago until present, to be honest. And really what we get is jumps in time where we get the death of dinosaurs, then we stop talking about mammals, essentially, and then we get kind of this like loose understanding of what human evolution is, and then people think Neanderthal, and then we jump to Neanderthal, and so there's a big gap, and really what there is almost a 65 million year gap, and in reality, again, this week and next week and the week after that are going to fill in those gaps. There is a ton of data. There's a decent amount of fossil data for all of these individuals. So again, I think that it should be pretty eye-opening when you kind of watch the videos, but also start to connect those dots that maybe weren't pieced together in other science classes. And I think this is again going into this class, at least this topic, realizing that fossils are very hard to form in the natural environment, and then also the amount of people actually looking for them is not abundant. So. We talked about Cuvier last year. He also did early primate studies, and what we're going to get here is there's three different theories or hypotheses about why primates emerged, and really primates are emerging out of, I would say, like a squirrel or a shrew-like creature that was tree adapted, but lacked the opposable thumb. And so, if you think of squirrels or raccoons or some of these animals that maybe can be in both environments, it's probably a good way to look at this. So the first is the arboreal hypothesis, which is primates are uniquely situated and have traits for adapting and living in trees. Again, I would say if you're looking at just gorillas or you're looking at just human beings are not necessarily good at trees. We have adapted to terrestrial life, and we'll talk about that progression as we move forward in the semester. But gorillas are very large, so they've kind of gone more into the terrestrial zone. But then if you look at our other chimps, like our other apes, like chimps and orangutans, they're very tree adapted. So our arboreal hypothesis is here, and what you'll see is probably all three of these are uniquely true. Visual predation hypothesis, the idea that primates' traits arose as adaptations to preying on insects and small animals became needed. The idea here is that the eyes of primates move towards the front of their face, noses get smaller, so essentially the eyes become the most important. And this is in order to see small insects and prey in order to survive. Angiosperm radiation is primate traits such as visual acuity, which is seeing in color as well, occurred in response to availability of ripe fruit and flowers. So I think that this is an important one as well, is being able to analyze whether or not a fruit is ripe is also a vision thing. So it's related to vision predation, just on a kind of a vegetarian, plant-based side of the house. So our Boreal hypothesis, visual predation, and angiosperm radiation are very big hints. The primates. So proto-primates or pro-primates, a separate order of early primate ancestors from the Paleocene. You'll watch a video on Placiadaptiforms in the Paleocene. Again, this is that 65 million years ago. And people would argue, some people who study them, argue that they are the first primates, but they lack a closed post-orbital bar. The nails versus the claws become an issue, but you're going to watch a video kind of on that debate. So I don't, for me, if you think that Placiadaptiforms are a form of a primate, then fine. There's a whole group of primatologists who believe that. Your primates are true primates from the Eocene, so we're really looking at 55 million years ago as being truly primates. And moving forward from 55 million years ago, you're going to have primates that are post-orbital closure or bar structure. The claws to nail thing starts to move out. Larger brains start to grow. So again, there's some interesting debate in the field, and you'll be able to look over that. But also, hint, Placiadaptiforms are usually mentioned as proto-primates or pre-primates. And then you have Europrimates that are much more considered the true primates. And knowing the Paleocene versus the Eocene will show up on an exam. Adapes or Adapids are likely ancestors of modern lemurs. So again, we get into the Strepsirini and some of those others. When you look at the charts, you'll see kind of that version. So again, you can see kind of squirrel-like, larger squirrel-like, and then moving into kind of this lemur structure. So also very interesting. Primate evolution, these are the charts that again, I don't need to go over them completely, but you can see kind of here, you got the earliest common ancestor at 85 million years ago. This would be a version of that kind of squirrel-like character. But really 65 million years ago is when we start to see the divergence, at least a big shift in that mammal structure to have a post-orbital bar and closures and some of those other things. And then the chart on the right goes into how many million years ago that we had kind of common ancestors. So again, I think one of the big ones is we get, did humans evolve from chimps or apes? And this is where we get into more of the common ancestor debate. And we'll be able to clear some of that up in the next few weeks. All right, so the next one is, how did primates get to the New World? New World primates, we have kind of evidence at 26 million years ago. And there are four theories, but we're going to run through them real quick. North America, the North America theory is that the idea that primates first originated in North America and then migrated to South America. Essentially, there's no evidence of that. Now, what I will tell you is that in the video, which can be confusing, they talk about Wyoming and that area of having Placiadaptiforms. All of those animals essentially die off, and they do not evolve into our New World primates, at least in terms of the fossil evidence that we have. So our New World primates are actually migrating from Africa, or possibly Africa to Antarctica to South America and Latin America. So number two is that they evolved in Africa and then migrated to South America. So either when the continents were closer, there were land bridges, or they did kind of the lemur thing where they were on rafts and they actually floated over. And then the third one is evolved in Africa, then moved to Antarctica, then moved up to South America. And we have evidence for both 2 and 3 in the fossil record. We don't have evidence for number 1, and then this next one, number 4. New World and Old World anthropoids evolved independently from different lineages. There is a relation, right? So the idea is that there's this number 4 theory is kind of this old idea of climactic evolution, where you pinnacle out. So essentially, there's only one place you can go in the evolutionary pyramid. So they're saying on number 4 that there was independent, like Placiadaptiforms, in both Africa and Europe and Asia and North America, and they all evolved into what they are now. And we'll see there's actually no fossil evidence for that. So apes eventually develop around kind of this, I would say, 25 to 30 million years ago. We get what's called preconsolids in the early Miocene, and they're found in East Africa. The proconsul, again, early Miocene from Africa, is ancestral to the catarrhines. And so when you look at your charts, you'll be able to match up these terminologies. There was a land bridge from 23 to 18 million years ago that connected Africa, Europe, and Asia. So what we have is, it seems, primates migrated up from Africa into Europe during this time period. And then by 13 kind of million years ago, we get like all the great apes in Europe start to go extinct. So you have then great apes in Asia still developing. So orangutan, if you're wondering where the great ape and orangutan comes from, it's kind of coming from this group in terms of evolution. Dipithecids are extinct European great apes 13 million years ago. And again, what happens in Europe is that the big foresty kind of areas start to dry up. They don't have as much food. And then there's another theory that essentially the apes migrate back from Europe into Africa because Africa becomes more foresty again. I messed that one up. Civipithecus is Asian great apes 12 to 8 million years ago. So this would have been fossil evidence maybe leading to your orangutans and some of these other ones. Gigantopithecus is a fascinating one if you want to do further research. We're looking at 8 million years ago to 500,000 years ago. And they were 10 feet tall. They're gigantic, again, with their name, Gigantopithecus, and very large apes. They were able to stand on 2 feet for an extended period of time. And many people think that this is where your Yeti, Abominable Snowman, your Bigfoot characters are coming from. They use Gigantopithecus in lore, and many groups in Asia, Native American groups in the New World have this lore around this giant kind of ape human-like structure. And some people think that it is possibly passed down from this 500,000 year time period through relatives of ours through stories. Or if there were some that we haven't found in the fossil evidence that were alive more recently. So again, some interesting stuff, kind of fun conspiracy theory stuff there as well. Fossil record in Africa between 13 million and 5 million years ago is very sparse. So this is the tough part. We have a kind of blank spots. And again, the climate may have changed, that then we don't have the soil right and some of those other things. But David Began basically believes that the apes moved back from Europe into Africa during this kind of time period when they go extinct in Europe. So again, there are no current apes in North America. There are no current primates in North America or Europe, right, aside from the Rock of Gibraltar. And again, so those are two areas that have had primates in the past, or proto-primates at least, that went extinct. And again, we really need to, after reading that Darwin macroevolution article, hopefully you have a better understanding of kind of migration, extinction events, and some of those other things that really give us a good understanding of why fossil evidence is the way that it is. All right, that's all for the lecture this week. Hopefully you have a fantastic week moving forward.